It's Friday and it's the Big Me Kickoff. Hey, how are you doing? I'm your host, Kevin Noon. It has been a long time since I've seen you all. Been involved on other channels, other shows, and finally getting around to doing my own. It is, as I said, Friday, NFL Draft Round 1 already in the books. 3 Buckeyes taken. Pretty interesting night, if I say so myself. We're going to talk exclusively about the NFL Draft and Ohio State here on this show. If you want to hear more about the NFL Draft, coming up later today over on our college football playbook channel, I will be doing more of a round 1 in general piece. So be sure to check it out. I will link the deets in the description here, both on YouTube and on your favorite podcasting platform. But how many of you all watched the draft last night? I know I did. My wife watched a little bit of it, much to her own dismay. She's like, I don't care. And lo and behold, she ended up watching, I'd say, the first 10 picks, which took about 11,000 hours. The draft really could not move any slower, and they've taken it from 15 minutes to 10 minutes. But even with that, with multiple networks broadcasting it and television breaks, we get into these points of where there's a backlog of picks, and it just takes forever. Now, I'm not saying I want to go back to the days of where we were posting this on a chalkboard and it was on a Tuesday afternoon and nobody really cared. I think that the draft is a fantastic celebration of the work of all of these athletes and everything that they've done to get to this point, to change their lives forever. A lot of them are going to be able to get generational wealth here in the early rounds, and the later rounds, we'll see what happens there. But 3 Buckeyes certainly in position to change their lives and the lives of their children and their children's children for quite some time. So let's just get right to it. First, let me make sure, subscribe to the channel if you're on YouTube. Hit that bell. Don't miss a single episode. I am so sporadic with this show. I'm going to do better. I promise. I'm going to do better. Your comments motivate me to get off my butt and do more of these shows and sit down on my butt and record these shows. So let's make that happen. Subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell. Don't miss a single thing. Leave a comment. Tell me what you want me to talk about. This is your show as much as it's my show. And maybe we'll throw some lives in there. I know we're getting into the summer months right now, and I'm going to be doing some traveling for work coming up here, but we can still knock a couple of these out. But plug is over. CJ Stroud, number 2 to the Houston Texans. S2 test, be damned. Not coachable, be damned. Whatever, be damned. I don't know what the hell this misinformation campaign was out there to try and besmirch CJ Stroud and his work ethic and his abilities. I have eyes. They may not be as good as they used to be 20 years ago, as I have to wear glasses now, but I have eyes. I know what I saw. I saw every single start of CJ Stroud in person, granted in the press box, but I saw them all. I did not see a player that had all of these warts that were being thrown about. Was it Houston trying to throw out some trial balloons out there to see what was going to happen, to create a little chaos, maybe create some movement, some picks? I don't know. I mean, I certainly think that there were some bad faith actors out there in terms of not having some of the best interests in mind out there. I'll talk a little bit about Will Levis on this show. Maybe we'll see where we are in time. If not, again, check out my other show. We'll be coming out later this afternoon as well. But 2 weeks ago, CJ Stroud was the betting favorite to go number 1 to Carolina, until he wasn't. And then he dropped like a rock. He dropped like a rock to the bottom of the 1 foot deep Olentangy River. And I don't necessarily understand all of that. And then we get to Thursday and the betting markets start to change. And people, honestly, I mean, truth be told, it's not like Nick Cesaro, the GM at one program, or whoever at another program, are going and talking to FanDuel, are going and talking to DraftKings, or going and talking to the Vegas books and saying, this is what we're thinking about doing. So I'm always fascinated by the betting market when it comes to the NFL draft. Yeah, there are going to be some loose lips out there in certain instances, but the way that CJ Stroud's odds moved, it's just almost like the attack dogs were called off. Everybody saw that and said, okay, common sense prevails. It's time to stop acting stupid. And CJ Stroud became a huge betting favorite to take that number 2 pick. Now, I'm watching it at home. I'm sitting there creating graphics, not watching it as closely as I'd like to, because I'm trying to sit there and figure out team colors and everything that goes into it. I'm not a graphic artist by practice, trade, even in my dreams. I do what I can. And I'm a little nervous for the kid because you just don't know. There's so much stuff thrown out there. Will Levis, Anthony Richardson. No, they're going to go defense. I mean, you just don't know. So it wasn't until about 20 seconds before it was on my TV, and I have satellite, so I'm a little delayed with that. And if you're on Twitter during the draft, you're going to see all the picks before they come out if you follow the right accounts. When I finally saw that, I exhaled and had a sigh of relief for the kid, because he's gone through a lot in terms of slings and arrows of people's opinions of him. And I'm still not convinced that Buckeye Nation is healed to the point to give CJ Stroud his due. 0-2 against Michigan. I get it. No Big Ten championships as a result of 0-2 against Michigan. I get it. Ohio State does not win a college football playoff game with CJ Stroud. Well, that one I have a lot bigger problem with, because he almost single-handedly willed Ohio State to that win after the Buckeyes lost Marvin Harrison Jr. So there's a lot going on there, but I've seen a lot of unification coming around CJ Stroud at this point. You can't do that to our pledges. Only we can do that to our pledges. A great line from Animal House. You can't talk crap about CJ Stroud. Only we can talk crap about CJ Stroud. Well, I saw a lot of that last night on social, and that's fine. If that is what it takes for the healing, the calm, healing waters of fandom to wash over CJ Stroud and the raw nerves that people have about some shortcomings, I'm here for it. So he goes number 2. And then the draft really starts. And people said that number 2 pick really is where the draft was going to start, because people weren't sure. But as I said, once the betting markets kind of fell in line, I felt more comfortable. Again, I wasn't exactly, I don't trust anything until it's done. But then at that point, you don't know what's going to happen. I'd seen mock drafts with Arizona moving up to 3 to get Paris Johnson. I've seen mock drafts with JSN going 9 to Chicago. Well, one of those sort of happened, and one of those didn't happen. Paris Johnson Jr. is the next Buckeye off the board at 6 to Arizona. And I think that's a great fit for Paris and for Arizona. I think he's somebody who is an immediate plug and play type of guy. I think it's going to be a great fit. I think that of all 3 of the Buckeyes who were drafted in the first round, I think that Paris is going to have maybe the easiest transition. Jackson being second, I think CJ going to Houston. I think that's going to be an issue just because Houston is a team that needs so much help on its 3rd head coach in a couple years. A lot of issues there. So I think with Paris, I think that is going to be a nice, smooth transition. But first offensive lineman off the board, I think it was just a great fit, a great pick, and really happy for him. And then we wait. Chicago needs a lot. They don't take a receiver. We go through, the Jets. I mean, that would have been really interesting to see Garrett Wilson and Jackson Smith-Njigba both there. for this young whippersnapper of a quarterback. I think his name is Aaron Rodgers. That would have been fun. But the Jets have other needs as well, too. And the player that they really probably wanted came off a pick before their pick. So nothing there. We keep going. We finally get to 20. And Jaxon Smith-Njigba comes off the board to go hang out in the hometown of G. Scott Jr. and Senior. So he is going to be in a great situation, catching passes from Geno Smith out there in the same receiving core with, DK Metcalf. I think it's going to be, he's going to be able to play inside. I think it's going to be a really good fit. But let's talk about something that everybody wants to talk about. The money. What kind of signing bonuses? I'm not even concerned about what the contracts are. Tell me what that first check is going to be in terms of the gross. And we know that check's going to get knocked down with taxes and agent fees and everything else. You're not Lamar Jackson. You got to have an agent. CJ Stroud's signing bonus is supposed to be in the neighborhood of $23.4 million. 23.4. Don't let me catch you making a screenshot of that, damn it. I'm already ugly enough. Paris Johnson's signing bonus, $17.4 million. Jaxon Smith-Njigba, $7.5 million. So right there, that's 23, 40, 47, 48. Let's just round it up and say that it's a little bit south of $50 million in signing bonuses. Developed here wins again for Ohio State. Developed here wins again. Don't think there's not a graphic already out there. And I haven't had a chance this morning to go through all the social media files and see. But I'm sure it's going to be with the full contract because you're getting huge numbers at that point. But again, a lot of sacrifices that you have to make as a collegiate athlete. First of all, you have to be born with an immeasurable amount of talent. But then you have to work your ass off. I don't care how much talent you have. You just can't show up unless you're like Michael Irvin. You just can't just show up and have, reap the windfall. So all three of these young men have worked tirelessly. Spit it out, dummy. It's pretty amazing, and it's a pretty good recruiting pitch. I think Ohio State would really like to see that recruiting pitch resonate with offensive linemen, because we know that offensive line has been a little bit of a bugaboo this year in terms of trying to get the best five out there on the field. And we'll see what it ends up looking like. Ohio State has a big official visitor from the portal on campus as we speak. So, I don't want to get too much into names at this point of what the starting five is going to look like, because this show could be outdated within 30 seconds. So I don't know. Let's talk about conference picks. The Big Ten had 9, just as many as the SEC. And now I'm talking 2 days Big Ten. I'm not cheating and putting USC in there with Jordan Addison going, because the SEC could sit there and say, okay, well, we're going to put Texas with Bijan Robinson and Oklahoma in there and win that one out. But the Big Ten and the SEC each had 9. The Big 12 had 6. The ACC had 4, and the Pac-12 had 3. It's been a while since the SEC has not run away with first-round picks. Now, that is not necessarily saying that, oh, we've crossed a threshold. Things are different now. We're brave new world. The Big Ten's got them. They caught them, finally. And now they're going to surpass them. No, probably not. The Big Ten is going to get USC and UCLA. The SEC is going to get Texas and Oklahoma. And I think that we'll see a little bit more of a bubble going back toward the SEC. 24 may be different. And I'm going to talk about 24 at the end of the show. But it's very impressive, especially when you look at the Big Ten West. Iowa has a couple of guys, Jack Campbell, Lucas Van Ness. Illinois has Devin Witherspoon. Didn't see any Nebraska players. They must not be back yet. Northwestern had Peter Skoronski. For everybody saying that the Big Ten West is just damn lucky to be there, there were some top kids that came out. You got to give them their due. Again, I'm trying not to turn this necessarily into the national show, but I'll talk a little bit more about the Big Ten. I mean, Mozzie Smith goes to the Cowboys. As a Cowboys fan, I don't like the pick. I think there are so many needs there to bring in a third down lineman who, I'm not even going to get into his legal issues and everything else. I just think that it was a wasted pick. He would have been there at 58. He would have been there at 58, in my opinion. And if it was not, guess what? There are a lot of run stuffers on day 3. A lot of them. Now, probably not the top run stuffer, but do you have Mozzie Smith? Is your top big tackle? I don't know. I love the draft. I really studied it this year, but I didn't get as deeply into it as I would have liked to. Something I was surprised by is that Joey Porter Jr. is not off the board yet for Penn State. Now, the Steelers have pick number 32 or pick number 1 of Friday. So we'll see if he gets by them. But, I don't know. I don't know at this point. But who could be next for Ohio State? I think, that's me bringing it home. Who's next for Ohio State? I think offensive lineman DeJuan Jones. I thought there was an outside chance that DeJuan Jones could sneak into the last 3 picks of the first round. I'm optimistic. I mean, hell, if we're going to sit there and talk about potential with Will Levis, potential with Anthony Richardson, I think DeJuan Jones has a lot of potential. He's not that far removed from being basketball first. He's not that far removed from not having bought in to being a football player, truly, in my opinion, probably even by his own admission. But, what do I know? But I looked at 3 mock drafts this morning before recording it, and I've seen them anywhere from the late 30s to late 40s in these 3 mock drafts. And again, I'm not going to say which ones I looked at. They were the first 3 that I could find. So he's a safe bet. Going to have to get that graphic ready. Zach Harrison was in 2 of the 3 mock drafts. Now, I think one of the mocks that I looked at was only a second round mock. So that may not be fair. But 68 in one of them, 75 in another. I'm expecting his name to get called too. Another guy, long on potential. We saw a lot of growth out of Zach Harrison throughout his career. We never saw him become that Bosa young type of player. That's fine. Those are generational players. You can still be a fantastic, outstanding player without being a player of the generation. I think Zach Harrison's going to go on and have a tremendous career. Let's remember, we've seen guys that have come out of Ohio State who were they're pretty good and then gone on and had huge NFL success. Devon Hamilton just signed a 3-year, $38 million deal. Devon Hamilton certainly made an impact at Ohio State. He was not a first name anybody was talking about. Baron Browning came in with all of the star power in the world, did some things that Ohio State probably miscast in his role, has gone on and had a tremendous career. How about Draymond Jones? Draymond Jones has gone on, signed that second deal. He's making bank. I'm not betting against Zach Harrison. And then maybe we see a third player go today. And I'm thinking if we do, it's Luke Whippler, Ohio State center. I only saw him on one of the 3 mocks. And granted, I think one of them was only a second round mock. But I saw him going 75. And I think that was the one that where I saw Zach Harrison going 68. Couldn't have them both going 75. That wouldn't make sense. So if he goes in the 3rd round, I think he made the right decision because it's not a great center draft. And even if he got 20% better, coming back another year, body of work, 20% better, he might not go 75. It could be a stronger center draft. I've heard 24 is a better center draft for those of you who follow that. So those are the 3 names I'm expecting. And then we'll get into rounds 4 through 7. 6 Buckeyes would already be off the board. A lot of people are saying it's 7 to 8. So, you might want to just keep an eye on the TV to see what happens on Saturday. But, I don't think that you're going to see 3 or 4 more Ohio State names come off the board. I could be proven wrong. I would love to be proven wrong. I pull for all these kids, but that's just my feeling. Let's go through a couple of other little snippets that I have. Ohio State is the first program with 90 first rounders. 9-0. 5 more than the second closest program, USC, with 85. Alabama's at 79. Notre Dame is at 70. Miami is at 67. 90 first rounders. Very impressive. Developed here, or so they say. I'm not getting a kickback for saying that. Pantone, if you're watching, you're welcome. This is the first time that Ohio State's had 3 first rounders, and I didn't type my note out all the way because I'm stupid. So just know that Ohio State has had multiple first rounders every year since 2015, outside of 2021, where they only had one, and that was Justin Fields. Justin Fields, who is still desperately seeking receivers, desperately seeking offensive linemen. Big Ten president Kevin Warren, Chicago Bears Kevin Warren, I guess one and the same, did not see the need to do anything there. Bears fans, I know, are very disappointed at Tony Gerdeman. You can talk to him about it. One more Ohio State note, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about Will Levis, and I'm going to get out of here. It is silly season for looking at way too early 2024 drafts. I certainly saw a 2024 or an early draft, a year later draft that had 7 banks going number 1. So take them for what it's worth. But the one I saw last night was on 24/7 Sports. Give credit where it's due. 8 Buckeyes going in the first round. The 32 picks. 8 would be 25%. 1/4 of the draft, according to that board, would be Ohio State players. That would move Ohio State up to 98 first round picks, closing in on 100. Now, do I think 8 Buckeyes are going to go in the first round? No. Do I think we could see 5? Yes, absolutely. But this also shows if people are already thinking this, Ohio State better win games this next season. Now, I know you can have a bunch of dudes and you could have a problem position that could create a lot of issues, and you could sit there and the ball could bounce the wrong way. And if you lose a game in the playoffs, you're done. But we're shaping up for a special season. Mark my words. Last thoughts, Will Levis, nothing to do necessarily with Ohio State other than the fact Ohio State faced him when he was the backup quarterback at Penn State. Will Levis couldn't beat out 42-year veteran Sean Clifford for the position, goes to Kentucky, has a career there. I'm not going to say a great one, not going to say a bad one. Just he has a career. He plays football at Kentucky. Certain NFL draft types built this kid up to being the number 2 pick overall. Reddit, at least one certain Redditor, was damn sure he was going number 1 after all. Kid sits in the green room and slides some more. And that's the risk you run. You go to the ballpark, you might get hit by a foul ball. This ticket says you can't sue. Okay. If you go and sit in the green room, we don't know the answers. This isn't sports entertainment. This isn't wrestling. We don't know what's going to happen here. You may not get picked in the first round. Well, Will Levis doesn't get picked in the first round. I've read mixed things on the internet, and the internet is very mean. We know that. The internet's very mean. Boo-hoo-hoo, that poor future millionaire. Yeah, Will Levis is going to come off the board soon enough. He's going to sign a contract that's going to have a good amount of money attached to it. I feel bad for the kid going through the embarrassment of it. And I watched NFL Network. I didn't watch ESPN, but I did read that ESPN was all over Will Levis throughout the entire draft coverage. Again, I didn't see this. I'm only parroting what I read. I just don't think it's fair to the kid. I don't think it's fair to the kid. And I just, I think that certain draft experts who had him that high need to really kind of reevaluate. And I think there's certain draft experts at this point that maybe have lost their fastball. It happens. I didn't see Gil Brandt this year. I mean, God, I hope he hasn't passed. I don't think he has, but he's somebody who lost his fastball. I mean, just listening to him on some of the coverage, and he might be on NFL radio at this point. I mean, I know that's where I heard him before, but there is a point where you have to realize that you got to hang up the spikes. You just got to hang it up. Just think about it. But I end on that. I want to thank you for joining me here on this long-awaited Big Me Kickoff. It has been a minute since I've done a show. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell if you're listening on your favorite podcasting channel. Leave us a 5-star review. Helps other people find it. Sign up for BuckeyeHuddle.com. A lot of recruiting coverage coming up. I'm just saying, now it would be a fantastic time if you've been on the fence to get on board and check us out, as a lot of coverage is coming up that you're not going to want to miss. But until next time, have a great day. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the draft, and I'll talk to you very soon.